Recently, the Balatro multiplayer mod has gained a lot of popularity, and while this is a good thing, with so many people trying out the mod, there's bound to be some bad. And after doing some research on the top ranked players, I found the bad. So in this video, I'm going to expose 3 of the biggest cheaters in Balatro multiplayer, including someone many of you may know. The first player on this list is a player I encountered very recently. While streaming tryouts to be on my team for an upcoming tournament, a player came into my chat looking to try out, and knowing they were a high ranked player on the leaderboard, I was happy to give them a chance to get on the team. That player was Makoof, currently ranked 6th on the leaderboard with 38 wins and 16 losses, which might not sound very impressive, but when you look at the leaderboard for win streaks, you can see that they are on a 28 game win streak, meaning prior to this streak, their record was 10 and 16. But this is not concrete evidence, so let's look deeper. To get on the team, you just had to beat me twice in a row, and they played quite impressively in this first match. But let's look at what I did first. In the small blind, I went for a spade flush, which wasn't enough, so I would beat the blind in 2 hands, putting me at $8. I then opened the buffoon pack, taking the order, but not wanting to go for straights on blackjack, I sold it and picked up golden joker. I was then able to beat the big blind in 2 hands, leaving me with $11 in the big blind shop, but with mediocre options, I decided to pass and save money for the next shop. And with unlucky draws and no scoring jokers, I lost a life to the big blind. With the extra money from the lost life and everything I had saved, I was now in the ante 2 shop with $26. Now let's switch over to Makoof's POV, which unfortunately there's no recording of, but there is a way to see what Makoof did. After each match, logs are saved to your computer giving info on what both players did, and though it doesn't tell us everything, it does tell us when they sell a joker, when they lose a life, and most importantly, how much they spend each shop. So the first piece of info we have is they spent $10 in the first shop and didn't sell any jokers. Replaying the seed, the most you can enter the first shop with is $9 on blackjack. But if you look closer, you can see they lost a life in the small blind, which I didn't even know was possible. But it does give them an extra $4, meaning they can purchase golden joker and hallucination, giving them the best odds for econ later. Then, assuming they beat the big blind with 1 hand with 4 of a kind 8s after losing to the small blind, they again have $11, and the logs say they spent $4 at shop. The only way to do this is to open the Arcana pack, which gives the wheel from hallucination, then you can sell that for $1 and use the priestess to sell the planets for an additional $2, putting you up to $10 heading into the boss blind. And yet again, we see they lost a life in this big blind, giving them even more money from lost lives. So after playing perfectly for econ with the knowledge we have, you enter the third shop with an impressive $29. And if we check the logs, we can see that Makoof spent $52, which is impossible to do with any set of actions. So it is quite clear that Makoof was fishy from this match, but it was only just a friendly game for tryouts, so it wasn't such a big deal to cheat. But this isn't the only evidence against Makoof, as the first suspicions of this player came from Oathkeep, a prominent member of the Balatro multiplayer community and one of the top ranked players on the leaderboard. He had a skeptical loss to Makoof in a ranked match, and upon inspection of the logs, he once again had an impossible set of actions. And even though Makoof did make it on the team, he was kept on bench and fortunately did not participate in the tournament. But this next player has done anything but sit on the sidelines, as they've been on the top of the ranked leaderboard for months with an astounding 94% win rate. This player is none other than Hisme, a Vietnamese player who appeared early on in the release of the rank system and quickly rose to the top of the leaderboard. These suspicions were first brought to light once again by Oathkeep. After asking Hisme to stream his game and him refusing to, it was quite suspicious, but he had a valid excuse blaming his internet. This came up once again as Hisme was also on a team for the tournament, and even though he should have been their best player, he sat on the sidelines as streaming was a requirement for the tournament. But obviously this is all just speculation, so we will once again have to take a look at the logs. These logs were sent by Hutrix and were looked over by Phantom and I, and it didn't take long for it to already be suspicious, as they spent $14 in the first shop. The only way to do this is to sell the hex card from the ghost deck during the small blind to get the extra $1 of interest, then beat the blind in 1 hand, now putting you in the shop with $13. So the only way to spend exactly $14 from here is to buy the spectral card in the shop, then sell it and purchase the voucher, meaning you spent $14 and have $1 remaining. So already suspicious in the first shop, but still possible. Then in the next shop you should have at most $7 to $8, and you need to spend $10, which no course of possible actions could lead to without selling a joker. And even if you were able to replicate all of their actions up till this point, the very next shop they spend $29, meaning in the first 3 shops they spent $53 versus their opponent's $19. Hismei has likely used these cheats to win over 100 ranked games, ruining the experience for the other players, and overall being a negative impact on Balatro multiplayer. But how do they cheat, and where is the extra money coming from? You are able to see your opponent's mod list, so it can't be that, meaning they are likely using the debug menu, a tool used by developers to be able to test mods and other things. And with this menu, you can easily gain an edge on your opponent by simply giving yourself money, adding to your score, or even just spawning in the jokers you need. You might see a trend with both players I've exposed so far. If you look at the leaderboard for win streaks, you will see both Hismei and Makoof at the top. And while this may lead you to believe that the last player is Zebra, you'd be wrong. The last player is a very notable player who has topped the leaderboard, won a tournament, and is even among the select group of advisors that help make decisions for the mod. But before I reveal who it is, I would like to show you my perspective of my match against this player in a recent tournament. It started with a buffoon pack giving Mad Joker, allowing me to easily beat the first few blinds and saving my money for the next shop, which I then find Bloodstone being a very strong joker along with Smiley Face to make it just a bit better. And before heading to Ante 2, I use a High Priestess leveling up my flushes and take the seed money voucher for later. I then find the duo in the next shop and take Blackboard and Conjoin Joker, giving me the highest possible scoring for the first face-off. And with all of this in a perfect hand, I scored 63,000 chips, which somehow my opponent wasn't able to beat that, meaning I had been able to take at least 1 life off of them. In Ante 3, I worked towards a flush 5 of Kings for Bloodstone, and replaced Blackboard for Penny Pincher, a multiplayer joker that will be important later on. I then readied up for the face-off and hit the timer on my opponent that counted down quite far, which surprised me since they were waiting for me in the first round. Now in the face-off, not having improved my scoring as the ante did not have much to offer, I was only able to score 54,000. But I must have missed something as my opponent had managed to score over 200,000. But this is all pretty standard so far, so I moved on to the next shop, and this is where the Penny Pincher comes in. What this joker does is give $1 for every $3 my opponent spent last shop. And in this shop, I had gotten $13, meaning they must have spent $39 in the last shop. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and just assume they were smarter with their econ. But they made yet another odd decision in this shop, passing on a very useful joker. Let's Go Gambling. Another multiplayer joker that gives econ and scoring, being an easy pickup, especially with the jokers that have shown up so far. But they are a top ranked player, so maybe passing on it was a smarter play that I just didn't realize. In the next shop, Penny Pincher gave me $9, meaning they spent $66 in the last 2 shops, and at this point the only econ jokers I had seen were Gambling and Penny Pincher, which I then replaced with an Invisible Joker before heading off to the face-off. I now could play a flush 5 of Kings, being a very strong hand, plus Gambling hit giving me 4x multiplier that my opponent did not have. But it seems this would not be enough yet again, as they had been able to score 1 million chips. In the next shop, I leveled up my scoring even more, copying Gambling with the Invisible Joker, as well as picking up the Family and Acrobat. With this, I beat the small blind and found something in the next shop, which would be very useful. An Ancient Joker on Hearts giving a 7x multiplier, so I took it and skipped to the face-off, and now with this setup I could put up an impressive score, but it would still be multitudes behind, meaning they had likely found re-triggers. I was now on just 1 life, and even though I had managed to find re-triggers along with the trio scoring 5 million points, it was again not enough, meaning I had lost the match and could now see what my opponent had. 2 Bloodstones, which likely means they copied it with Invisible Joker, which makes sense, but they also found a Photograph and Dusk. 2 jokers that would work perfectly for my build, which had never shown up in my shop, even though I rolled down quite hard and took almost every econ joker. Up to this point, all of this could still be possible if they just made better decisions than I did. None of this is proof, But before we get into the real evidence, who is this player? How have they made it this far, and even won a tournament without getting caught? Well, they were hiding in plain sight, being known by everyone in the multiplayer community, and is even a moderator for the multiplayer Discord, with the power to ban people and change the outcome of ranked matches. The player I'm speaking of is none other than Oathkeep, the very same player who accused Makoof and Hizme of cheating. A player who has been an important part of the server for a while now, with hundreds of hours of experience playing multiplayer, who I would think has no need to cheat. But here we are, and I have proof that he cheated in a match during a tournament meant for supporters of Balatro multiplayer. So let's look at the logs. You might think it would be hard to catch someone who's been cheating for so long, but that is not the case. In the first shop, they spent exactly $10, which the only reasonable way to do so is to open both packs, taking the foil Mad Joker, along with purchasing a Jimbo for seemingly no reason. Then, beating the big blind in one hand, you enter the next shop with $21, where Oathkeep reasonably spends $15, taking the Bloodstone along with Arcana in either the Smiley Face or card pack. After beating the boss blind and entering the Ante shop, you have $15, which you can get up to $17 after selling the planet cards. And in this shop, Oathkeep spent $26 without selling a single Joker, and after running through every possible path to this point, I can confidently say there's no way to do so. And even if you were able to, in the following 5 shops, he spent $168 without an Econ Joker showing up. It is unclear how many times Oathkeep has cheated to win a match, but it is clear that he cheated here and is not a trustworthy player. And if you come out of this video thinking you can just cheat your way to the top of the leaderboard, there has since been an anti-cheat added, flagging any player who tries to beat the system. Cheating in a silly card game is just pathetic, and I pity anyone who feels they need to do so. Thanks to Phantom for helping catch and research these players, and if any of you watching this are cheaters, I will find you next. Bye.